Greetings. It's a brand new day, but we're going to do it in the same old way. Reading today from My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. Proverb for today, before I forget it. This one I'm coming off the top, doing it without a stop because I got to just let it. Proverb of today is, if you look for a problem long enough, you'll find one. Proverb for today, look for one. If you look for a problem long enough, you will find one. There you go. That's a jewel of wisdom straight from the mind of Doc Ock. Letting it rock. Continuing on into My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. Yes. So after our hero has gone through a number of trials, including the ghost mother's birthday function, he begins to find himself becoming part of the community of ghosts, even though technically he is not a ghost. But since he's a child and he's innocent of the difference between the ghosts and the people, and the fact that he went into the bush of ghosts in the first place, he actually has begun to start to acclimate himself. So let's see what happens. He met a young ghost female that was very beautiful and decided to marry her. And here we go with my first wedding day in the bush of ghosts. Before the wedding day was reached, my friend had chosen one of the most fearful ghosts for me as my best man, who was always speaking evil words. Even he was punished in the fire of hell more than 50 years for these evil talks and cruelties, but was still growing rapidly in bad habits. Then he was expelled from hell to the bush of ghosts to remain there until the judgment day, as he was unable to change his evil habits at all. When the wedding day arrived, all the ghosts and ghostesses of this town, together with the father of the lady whom I wanted to marry, my friend and his mother, my best man and myself, went to the church at about 10 o'clock. But it was the ghost clock said so. When we reached their church, I saw that the reverend who preached or performed the wedding ceremony was none other than Shaitan, Satan, the devil, Beelzebub, Bell's Nickel, Old Nick. Yeah, you heard about him too. Thought he was Santa Claus, but he ain't. But as he was preaching, he reached the point that I should tell them my name, which is an earthly person's name. And when they heard the name, the whole of them in that church exclaimed at the same time, you will be baptized in this church again before you will marry this lady. So, just a baptism, right? No biggie. When I heard so from them, I agreed, not knowing that the Reverend Devil was going to baptize me with fire and hot water as they were baptizing for themselves there. When I was baptized on that day, I was crying loudly so that a person who is at a distance of 2 miles would not listen before hearing my voice. And within a few minutes, every part of my body was scratched by this hot water and fire. But before Reverend Devil could finish the baptism, I regretted it. Then I told him to let me go away from their church, and I do not want to marry again, because I could not bear to be baptized with fire and hot water any longer. But when all of them heard so, they shouted, no, we don't think so. Since you came into our church already, you're going to be baptized with fire today. young man, and hot water before you will go out of the church. Willing or not, you ought to wait and complete the baptism. But when I heard so from them, again I exclaimed with a terrible voice that I will die in their church. So all of them exclaimed again that you may die if you like. Nobody knows you're here. But as ghosts do not know the place or time which is possible to ask questions, so at this stage, one of them got up from the seat and asked me, by the way, how did you manage to enter into the bush of ghosts, the bush which is on the second side of the world, between the heaven and earth, and which is strictly banned to every earthly person to be entered? And again, you have the privilege to marry in this bush as well? Say what? So, as these ghosts have no arrangements for anything at the right time and place, then I answered them that I was too young to know which is bad and good before I mistakenly entered this bush. And since that time or year, I'm trying my best to find out the right way back to my hometown until I reach the town of Burglary Ghost, from where I came with my friend to this town. After I explained as above, then the questioner stood up again and asked me whether I could show them my friend, whom I followed to that town. Of course, as my friend was faithful, before I could say anything, he and his mother, whom we came to visit, got up at the same time and said, I'm living with a burglar ghost in the town of the burglar ghosts. But when my friend and his mother confirmed all that I said, and as all the rest of the ghosts were respecting all the burglar ghosts, most because they were supplying them with the earthly properties, so they overlooked my offense. Then Reverend Devil continued the baptism with hot water and fire. After the baptism, then the same Reverend Devil preached again for a few minutes, while Traitor, I don't know, quotation marks, read the lesson. All the members of this church were evildoers. They sang the song of evils with evil's melodious tune. Then Judas closed the service. Even Evil of Evils, who was the ruler of all the evils and who was always seeking evils about evil joking, evil walking, evil playing, evil laughing, evil talking, evil dressing, evil moving, worshiping evils in the church of evils and living in the evil house with his evil family, everything he does is evil, attended the service too. But he was late before he arrived, and when he shook hands with me on that day, I was shocked as if I touched a live electric wire. But my friend was signaling to me with his eyes not to shake hands with him to avoid the shock, but I didn't understand. Having finished the marriage service, all of us went to my in-laws' house where everybody was served with a variety of food and all kinds of ghost drinks. After that, all the ghosts and ghostess dancers started to dance. Also, all the terrible creatures sent their representatives as skulls and long white creatures and invincible and invisible pawn or give and take, who fought and won the red people in the red town for the palm wine drinker. Mountain creatures, spirit of prey, whose eyes flood of light suffocated palm wine drinker's wife, and also the hungry creature who swallowed palm wine drinker together with his wife when returning from Deadstown came and saluted my wife's father, and they were served immediately they arrived. But at last, Skull, who came from Skull Family's town, reported spirit of prey to my wife's father, who was chief secretary to all the terrible and curious ghosts and all dangerous bushes, that the spirit of prey stole his meat, which the skull put at the edge of the plate, and which both were eating, as both were served together with one plate, because plates were sufficient to serve each of them with a plate. But before my father's wife, who was their chief secretary, could have a chance to come and settle the matter for them, both of them started to fight fiercely, so that all the ghosts and all the other representatives came near and surrounded them, clapping hands on them in such a way that if one of these fighters surrenders or gives up, it will be very shameful to him. Some of these scene lookers were clapping, and an old ape who was a slave and inherited by my wife's father from his first generation since uncountable years was beating a big tree under which both these terrible creatures were fighting as a drum, which had a very large sound. But as this old slave ape was beating the tree as a drum in such a way that all the scene lookers who stood around him could not bear the lofty sound of the tree which was beaten as a drum and wait or stand still in one place. So all the ghosts, evils, terrible creatures, my friend, my wife, and her father, and myself started to dance at the same time. But as I was intoxicated by the strong drinks which I drank on that day, so I mistakenly smashed a small ghost to death, who came from the 9th town of ghosts to enjoy the merriment of the marriage with us as I was staggering about. At last, I was summoned to the court of evil for willfully killing a small ghost. But as a little mistake is a serious offense, as well as big offense in the bush of ghosts, so the evil judge judged the case at 1 o'clock of the judgment day. And luckily, I was freed by a kind lawyer whose mother was the native of the Bottomless Ravines town, the town which belongs to only triplet ghosts and ghostesses. But if it was not for this incognito lawyer, who was very kind to me without knowing him elsewhere, I would be in prison for 50 years, as this is the shortest amount of years for a slightest offense. After I freed the case, then I returned to my in-laws' town and lived there with my wife for a period of about 3 months. And some days before, I remembered my mother and brother again, because I did not remember them again when I married the lady. So one morning, I told the father of my wife that I want to leave his town for another one. But I did not tell him frankly that I want to continue to find the way to my house, to my hometown, which I left since I was 7 years old. So I told him that I should leave with his daughter, who was my wife. He allowed me to go or to leave, but disallowed his daughter to go with me. Of course, when I thought over within myself that however an earthly person might love ghosts, ghosts could not like him heartily in any respect. Then I alone left his town in the evening after I went round the town and bade goodbye to all the prominent ghosts. And we'll be continuing on tomorrow on his way. He's now on his way to the 9th town of ghosts. And Lord only knows what he will find in the 9th town of ghosts. Or maybe I should have said the devil. He left the 8th town of ghosts with a devil may care attitude. But I don't know. Maybe that's a little too on point. After being baptized in the fire. So at any rate, I hope you're enjoying this story. This is a story you can only find exclusively here at Black Facts. You will not find you can't find this as a read aloud anywhere else. Nobody's done it, and nobody's posted it up and in the archives or anything like that where you can download a free PDF version. The only way you can get this book, you could possibly order it maybe on Amazon, and you might get it, you might not. We're having a hard time getting things to Amazon right now. So this is the only place right now you can get access to what's in this, because you can't even get it from the libraries right now. Could have got it from a library, but we are the exclusive source. So we're all glad to have you here, and we hope that you will continue to support us in now and in the future by, first of all, hitting that subscribe button below. If you're on YouTube, if you're seeing us on Facebook, be an ace and go ahead, give us a like and give us a share. Show some people that you really do care about what's going on out here. Try to spread the word. All right. So if ever a story has been heard, it's been heard right here. We'll be back again because this is Doc Ock at noon and 9. So we'll be back at 9 and everything will be real fine. Bring your children, bring your nephews, your cousins, and your nieces, because we're gonna tell a bedtime story. We got a good one tonight. Good one tonight. Yes, ma'am. So we'll see you then. Peace out. All right.